Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. mypillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome into Thankful Thursday. We have a lot to cover. Of course, breaking news yesterday, and boy, what great news. Hamas reportedly has agreed to a peace deal pushed by President Donald Trump to end the war in Gaza and return the hostages 2 years after the terrorist network attacked Israel on October the 7th, 2023. We have the latest details of what may be one of the most significant diplomatic breakthroughs in decades. A screaming match erupted between Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and New York GOP Congressman Mike Lawler as the government shutdown chaos continues for another day. An elected official in South Carolina upstate is pushing back against what he insists is an effort to, quote, bully his government into approving a massive development driven by political power and corporate profit, he says. This is a story of high-profile political connections and how the good old boy network sometimes works, except not all the players are good old boys. There's a very powerful good old girl possibly involved in this one as well. The state of Minnesota is facing a showdown over transgender athlete policies and federal funding with a deadline coming up on Friday. What is Governor Looney Tune Waltz going to do? There's a lot to talk about. Plus, again, it's Thankful Thursday. What are you thankful for? Text me, email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a quick message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Folks, we may be witnessing one of the most significant diplomatic breakthroughs in the Middle East in decades, literally. After 2 years of war, following the horrific October 7th Hamas terror attacks, the deadliest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust, President Trump has just announced last night a landmark peace agreement between Israel and Hamas. This deal, hammered out with the help of Qatar, Egypt, Turkey, will end the war in Gaza, return all hostages, and begin a phased Israeli withdrawal, all part of what President Trump calls the first step towards a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. On Truth Social, the president posted, "I'm very proud to announce that Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of our peace plan. This means all of the hostages," and he put all in all caps, "will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed-upon line as the first steps toward peace." President Trump called it a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel, all surrounding nations, and the United States of America, he said. Speaking to Sean Hannity on Fox News last night, the president said he's spoken with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Countries that frankly didn't get along, they're all involved, and it's brought the whole world together. It's amazing. I've never seen anything. It's so good for Israel. I spoke to Bibi Netanyahu just a little while ago. He called. He said, "I can't believe it." He said, "Everybody's liking me now." Meaning him. He said, I said, more importantly, they're loving Israel again, and they really are. I said, Israel cannot fight the world, baby. They can't fight the world, and he understands that very well. So it's amazing the way it's all come together, and it's a beautiful picture. I don't know if it could ever happen again. It was just a set of circumstances, like, for instance, taking out the potential nuclear power of Iran. so many different things happened that were so amazing. It's a lot of talent involved, I'll tell you, but there was a certain degree of luck, too. You know, you need luck also. There is such a thing as luck.
So here's what we know about the agreement. Of course, it's been negotiated over the past several weeks. It was finalized in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. Photos from the talks show Israeli negotiators shaking hands with Qatari officials and Hamas leaders smiling from across the table. Sources are reporting that the official signing could happen as early as sometime today on Thursday. And this isn't just a ceasefire. Reportedly, it's a comprehensive peace plan, a blueprint to finally close one of the bloodiest chapters in modern Middle East history. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called it a great day for Israel. In a statement, he said, with God's help, we will bring them all home. I thank President Trump and his team for mobilizing for this sacred mission of freeing our hostages. And that word sacred is key, because at the heart of this deal are the 48 Israeli hostages still held by Hamas. Men, women, children, including 21 believed to still be alive. Under this first phase, all hostages will be returned, living and deceased, within 72 hours of the implementation. Again, that could be as early as this weekend. It's been 2 years of unimaginable pain for these families, and now for the first time, there appears to be some real hope. The families issued a statement saying, we express deep gratitude to President Trump for his leadership and determination. Our moral and national commitment is to bring them all home. We will not rest until the last hostage returns. So let's be clear about what led to this moment. The Trump administration's 20-point peace plan is bold and somewhat controversial depending on who you are and where you are in the world. It calls for complete withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza. It's not exactly what the Israelis wanted or had planned. It calls for release of all hostages, massive humanitarian aid for civilians, reconstruction planning led by international partners, and amnesty for Hamas fighters who surrender their weapons. In return, Hamas must disarm and commit to peace, while a temporary technocratic Palestinian committee takes over day-to-day governance in Gaza. No annexation, no forced evacuations, but full U.S. oversight through a new Board of Peace chaired by President Trump and former British Prime Minister Tony Blair. Trump calls it a chance to build a better Gaza, one that chooses prosperity over terror. Even Hamas issued a statement praising the deal. They said, we thank President Trump for his efforts to bring an end to the war and the full withdrawal of the occupation. We call on all parties to hold Israel accountable to its commitments. Now, let's pause there. Hamas calling Trump a peacemaker. That's something none of us thought we'd ever hear. But it also shows just how much the ground has shifted. Remember, under Joe Biden, the war raged with no clear endgame. The hostages languished, international pressure mounted, and Israel's military campaign dragged on. Now, under Trump's leadership, the U.S. is back in the driver's seat, brokering peace from a position of strength. Still, this is not going to be easy. They're serious at risk here. There's a lot to happen over the next hours, 24, 48 hours, and hopefully it can be accomplished as President Trump hopes it will. I mean, Hamas must actually follow through on its promises. We know how whether or not you can trust them or not. They're going to have to prove it. Israel must trust that this isn't a trap. And both sides must resist extremists who want to sabotage this agreement. And there are many of them out there. But as President Trump said today, blessed are the peacemakers. This is a moment where faith, force, and diplomacy appear to be all working together. So what happens next? If all goes according to plan, hostages come home within 3 days. Israeli troops pull back to the agreed-upon lines. Humanitarian aid floods into Gaza. And Phase 2 begins reconstruction and reconciliation. Down the road, a Palestinian technocratic government, not Hamas, will run local services while regional partners help rebuild infrastructure, schools, and hospitals. It's going to be an expensive process, folks. And what I can't find out and what I don't see is who's going to pay for it. We'll see. It's kind of a reset, giving Gaza's people a chance to live free from war and terror. For Israel, this deal could mark the end of one of its darkest chapters. For Palestinians, it's a chance to start fresh without the yoke of Hamas militancy. And for us, for America, it's a historic win for peace, for leadership, and for moral clarity. And let's not forget, this is 2 years after 12 Israelis were murdered in cold blood on October 7th, 2023. The hostages were taken, the world was horrified, and the Middle East was on fire. Now, 24 months later, through the strength and resolve of the United States and President Donald Trump, it appears that peace could be at hand in just a matter of days. Let's be honest, those summer vacations and backyard barbecues added some extra pounds, right? But instead of feeling guilty or falling further behind, it's time to reset, drop the weight, and get back in control. The solution isn't a shot. Real lasting weight loss starts with your mind, not your mouth. At PhD Weight Loss, Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team help you uncover the real reasons behind your weight gain so that you can reprogram the way you think about food forever. PhD clients lose up to a third of their body weight without ever taking a drug. I know because I lost 33 pounds with PhD weight loss. Through real food, behavioral coaching, and proven science, your body can become a natural fat-burning machine. Why risk spending thousands on shots that strip away muscle, come with dangerous side effects, and leave most people regaining 60% of the weight within a year? With PhD, you'll activate your body's natural appetite control, burn fat safely, and stay in control. Even if you're already on Ozempic, PhD can help you transition off while still losing weight. Take the first step today. Call 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. An upstate South Carolina elected official is pushing back against what he says is an effort to, quote, bully his government into approving a massive development driven by political power and corporate profit, he says. Here's the story. It's Oconee County Council Chairman Matthew Durham. He says his county is being strong-armed by politically connected developers with ties to Clemson University and some of the most powerful leaders in the state. The controversy erupted after East Shore South LLC, a company operating out of the Midlands of South Carolina, proposed a 5,200-home mixed-use project on more than 600 acres along Old Clemson Highway near the historic Newry Mill site. Now, Newry Mill is a unique place. I love that area. I go to the Newry Mill General Store for lunch quite often. My buddy Candace is the owner over there. This is just a great area that's being redeveloped. They took the old Newry Mill literally and turned it into apartments. So it's a neat area, but there's a lot of vacant space in the area and a lot of work to be done. Now, when Oconee County Council declined to grant a special zone carve-out, which would have exempted the developer from having to comply with county ordinances, which limits density and lot size, the firm responded with threats, according to Mr. Durham. In a September 15, 2025 letter to County Administrator Amanda Brock, developer Mark Hart wrote that his company does not feel compelled to recognize Ordinance 2024-18 or unreasonable density restrictions, and warned that without quick and mutual agreement, he would consider annexation lawsuits and other legal and political responses along with a robust media campaign. Now, I can see how the county might take that as a threat by some big outside of the area developer. Mr. Durham says the county's answer was simple: follow the law or don't build. Durham wrote in a September 22nd post, maybe threats work against politicians in Pittsburgh and Charlotte, but they don't work here. As Oconee County Council members began peeling back the layers of the Newry proposal, they uncovered something far more complex than a developer's hostility, according to an article in Fitz News. At the center of it all sat Clemson, or rather the network of political and corporate power surrounding the university, the Fitz News was reporting. So here's the story. The company behind the Newry project, East Shore South LLC, operates out of a Chapin Road, Chapin, South Carolina office. It's the same address as the United Homes Group, UHG, the successor to Great Southern Homes. That connection alone would be noteworthy, but UHG's leadership roster is what is getting everyone's attention. It includes Clemson University President James Clements. He sits on the UHG's board of directors. According to Fitz News, so does Nikki Haley, the former South Carolina governor and United Nations ambassador who was appointed in 2021 as a lifetime trustee of Clemson University. Ms. Haley also holds hundreds of thousands of dollars in UHG stock, according to corporate disclosures, giving her a direct financial stake in a company that stands to benefit from Clemson's expansion into Oconee County, again, according to Fitz News. UHG's chairman, Michael Neary, is both a major Clemson donor and one of its most visible benefactors. Fitz News writes, his name adorns multiple university buildings and athletic facilities, a testament to the financial ties that now blur the line between the school's public mission and its private development interest. Matthew Durham, the chairman of the Oconee County Council, recently wrote, Clemson's leadership and its biggest donors are intertwined with the company behind the Neary project. Now, this intertwining, he argues, raises questions not only of influence, but of propriety, namely, whether public growth decisions are being driven by community need or by the financial priorities of those at the top of Clemson's donor and governance structure. It's an interesting tale, isn't it? Fitz News writes, amplifying these concerns is the ongoing constitutional controversy surrounding Haley's presence on the Clemson's board. There's been a number of people who have questioned the constitutionality of Nikki Haley, and anybody being appointed as a lifetime trustee. This has been a debate going on around Clemson for a long, long time. And the plot thickens a bit. Fitz News writes, against that backdrop, Oconee County residents discovered architectural plans on the website of Atlanta-based design firm Greenberg Farrow labeled Nettles Neary Master Plan. These previously unpublicized renderings showed Clemson University satellite facilities, intramural fields, and even proposed athletic space for the city of Seneca, none of which had been shared with county officials or approved through public channels. And so when Oconee County Council started digging a little bit further, the discovery seemed to reinforce their complaint that what was being marketed as a private housing proposal maybe was a Clemson-driven expansion disguised as a residential project. The other piece of information you need to be aware of here is if the Neary proposal feels somewhat familiar, if you think you've heard some of the names, before turning up in Oconee County, Mark Hart, the developer, spent years in professional sports. He served as chief operating officer of the Carolina Panthers and president of GT Real Estate Holdings. That company was behind billionaire David Tepper's failed Rock Hill headquarters and practice facility project. You remember that boondoggle? That venture, promoted as an $800 million economic catalyst, collapsed into bankruptcy in 2022 after local governments refused to issue hundreds of millions in public bonds. That's when the Panthers decided they would just stay in Charlotte and move back across the line. Again, according to Fitz News, land records confirm that the 609-acre tract along Old Clemson Highway sold for $12.2 million in April of 2024. The ownership transferred from West Clemson LLC to East Shore South LLC, the same company operating out of UHG's Chapin address. So this is certainly one that we'll be watching. For now, Oconee County Council is holding firm. The 5,200 home project has been rejected, and Council Chairman Durham insists the county will not revisit the issue unless the developer complies fully with existing ordinances. Durham wrote, Oconee County is not for sale. Growth is welcome, but it will be responsible, lawful, and on our terms, not theirs. So we'll see if the political influence of Clemson University, of Nikki Haley, will eventually outflank that of the Oconee County Council. If you live in the area, I'd love to hear from you. Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com.
We got a 1-year extension. Why don't we
Did
sign
you-
on right now?
Let me ask you a question. Did you get permission from your boss?
Why don't we sign on right now?
Did your boss, Donald Trump?
You can easily extend
Did
the
your
ACA
did your
right
boss,
now.
Donald Trump,
He's
give
not
you
my
permission?
boss.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. And by the way,
So let me ask you a
why
question.
did you vote
Let
to
me
shut
ask
the
you a
government
question.
down?
You
Why
know
did you
I
vote to shut it down?
Let me ask you a question.
For years, you always lectured about how we need to keep the government open.
You're making a show of this to
No,
make
it's
yourself
sad.
relevant.
It's sad. You could easily sign on to this.
You're embarrassing yourself
You could
right
sign
now.
on to this. The only
You're
embarrassment
chasing
here is
clout.
you.
You're an embarrassment.
You could sign on to the bill.
Let me ask you a question.
You have 4 Democrats on here.
Let me
Why
ask you a
won't you
question.
sign on
Let me ask
to
you a
it?
question.
It's a clean
Let me ask
extension
you a
for 1
question.
year.
You voted for the one big
Clean
ugly bill,
extension.
correct?
I voted for a
The
tax cut
largest-
bill that gave the
the
largest tax
largest
cut
the
to
largest-
Americans in history,
the
including, by
largest-
the way, the average New Yorker getting a $4,000 tax cut. Are you against that?
You're embarrassing
Do you want
yourself
to?
right
You want
now.
to cut the standard deduction in
The
half? Is that
largest
what you
cut
wanted
to
to do?
Medicaid in
No, we
American
rooted
history.
out
You voted
waste,
for that.
fraud, and abuse, by the
You
way.
voted
Tom DiNapoli, the
for a
Democratic
permanent-
controller of New
Let
York,
me ask you a question.
pointed out that $1.2
If
billion
you're
were
gonna-
wasted.
Listen, you're not going
wasted,
to talk.
wasted,
You're not going to talk to
wasted
me. You're not
on
going to talk to me
fraud
and talk
and
over
non-New
me
York residents
because you don't
getting
want to
paid.
hear what I have to say.
Oh, I'm listening.
So why
Go
don't you
ahead.
just keep your mouth shut?
Oh,
because you
is
showed
that-
up.
is that the way to
you
talk?
showed up. You showed up.
Yeah.
And so you voted for this one
I
big
signed
ugly
on
bill.
for this. You can extend it right
a
now.
permanent extension of massive tax breaks for your billionaire donors.
So 90% of
So
Americans.
they can get a permanent extension.
90% of Americans
but working
take the
class
standard
Americans
deduction.
can't? Is that right?
90% of Americans take the standard deduction.
Is that right?
If you had your way, the standard deduction would have been cut in half. That
No
would have been a
one-
massive tax increase
no one-
on Americans all across the country.
You're
You support
here,
that?
unfortunately.
You're against
to do
lifting the cap on
bidding
salt?
Of your billionaire donors.
The
That's
billionaire
unfortunate.
donors lifting the
That's
cap on
correct.
salt. We put a income cap in place.
Why are you here right now?
An income
Where-
Okay, that's enough. I don't care to hear any more of that. That was Republican Congressman Mike Lawler of New York, who got into a shouting match with House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries in the hall outside of their congressional office. And as you heard, tensions are boiling on Capitol Hill as government shutdown. It enters day number 8 of this chaos in our nation's capital. It all happened outside of their office after a press conference held by Jeffries. And folks, it was one of those Washington moments where the frustration of gridlock spilled out into the public view. You could see people surrounding these two gentlemen with their cell phones taping this conversation. Mr. Lawler is a freshman Republican known for his blunt style. He confronted Jeffries over a bipartisan compromise that would extend Obamacare subsidies for 1 year, one of the key sticking points in the shutdown fight. Now, honestly, I'm not so sure they need to be offering this concession, but evidently somebody within the GOP leadership believes that might break the impasse. Democrats want those subsidies, pandemic-era enhancements that help more Americans afford coverage, locked in before they agree to reopen the government. Republicans say, hold up. Let's pass a clean bill, fund the government first, then debate health care. Well, Lawler tried to press Jeffries right then and there, saying, we've got a 1 year extension. Why don't you sign on right now? That's when Jeffries shot back sarcastically, did your boss, Donald Trump, give you permission to say that? To which Lawler fired back, he's not my boss. And you heard it from there. From there, it went downhill. I mean, the two men shouting over each other for nearly 5 minutes, finger pointing, insults, accusations, flying back and forth like two kindergarten students out in the hall. Not exactly the kind of bipartisan spirit that we were looking for, right? So here's what's at stake. This shutdown is entering its second week, and the key divide is over whether to attach Affordable Care Act subsidies, the ones Democrats want extended, to the temporary funding bill. Republicans passed a continuing resolution to keep the government open until or funded through November 21st at current spending levels. But Senate Democrats have rejected that 5 times, saying that they won't agree to a bill unless it includes those subsidy extensions, which are set to expire at the end of the year. So the standoff continues. Now, President Trump has hinted he's open to a health care deal with Democrats, but not before the government reopens. So it's kind of like we're at a standstill, playing chicken. He told reporters this week, we could have much better health care than we have right now, but if we make the right deal, I'll make a deal, sure. But first, they need to open the government. Meanwhile, Senate Democrats say they're not negotiating at all. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said flatly, this isn't true. Republicans haven't come to the table. So once again, Washington is in a blame game. Both sides pointing fingers while hundreds of thousands of federal workers sit at home without pay. And it's not just abstract policy. This shutdown is real pain for real people. Air traffic controllers, border agents, federal clerks, national park staff. They're either furloughed or working without paychecks, and Americans are tired of it, I think. A new Harvard Harris poll found 65% of voters, including nearly 40% of Democrats, say Democrats should accept the GOP's temporary funding bill even without those extra Obamacare subsidies. Only 35% think Democrats should hold out. Obviously, the Democrats and Hakeem Jeffries and Chucky Schumer aren't listening to the polls or not seeing the polls. So back to the fireworks yesterday. During their exchange, Mr. Jeffries accused Mr. Lawler of supporting Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, which Democrats claim cuts Medicaid and shifts money to tax relief. Lawler fired back, saying, I voted for the largest tax cut for Americans in history. The average New Yorker got a $4,000 cut. Are you against that? Jeffries countered that Lawler voted to cut Medicaid, calling it an embarrassment. It turned out that this shouting match over who's really helping working class families really didn't accomplish anything. Classic D.C. standoff, two different visions of what is considered help. Now, let's be honest here. Both sides are playing politics. Democrats want to secure a policy win on health care in the middle of a shutdown to show that they're fighting for the people, supposedly. Republicans want to show fiscal discipline and pass a clean bill to prove they can govern. And both parties are already looking ahead to 2026, of course, using this fight to draw contrast. I think the Republicans are going to win on this one, though. Here's the thing. While they fight, of course, the government is closed. Families are worried about paychecks. Veterans are waiting on benefits. Small businesses that depend on federal contracts are hurting. And with this shouting match, as dramatic as it was, does it bring us one step closer to reopening Washington? Speaker Mike Johnson says Democrats own this shutdown because they refuse to accept a clean, bipartisan extension. Senator John Thune echoed that on the floor Monday, saying Democrats own every negative effect of this shutdown. But Democrats argue Republicans could have avoided all of this by including the subsidies from the start. They say it's about protecting health care, not politics. The truth, it's about leverage. It's about the classic Washington politics. Right now, no one's blinking. Because guess what? It doesn't hurt them. It doesn't hurt them one iota. So where does it go from here? Probably more of the same. The Senate rejected the funding bill again yesterday, the sixth time, with no breakthrough in sight. This shutdown could stretch into a second week, maybe longer. Another vote is expected later today, and it's expected to fail once again. President Trump says he's open to talks, but he's standing firm. Again, open the government first, then we can talk. They don't seem to be interested in that. And until that happens, quite honestly, we'll likely see more tension, more theatrics like we saw between these two men, and maybe more hallway showdowns. Maybe more arguments out in the public view. At the end of the day, Americans, what Americans want is pretty simple. We want the government open and less chaos, less theatrics out of Capitol Hill. We want our federal employees paid. And again, most people, Republicans and Democrats, want the whole health care debate to be separate. Don't tie it to a government shutdown. Stop the finger pointing and get something done. Because whether it's Hakeem Jeffries yelling, keep your mouth shut, or Mike Lawler shouting back, none of it pays a single federal worker's mortgage. None of it gets our government open for business again. And that's what we have to do. We got to get back to where the government is open and we stop this nonsense. Republicans and Democrats have to learn somehow to work together. And the Democrats can't just start screaming, we're going to take our ball and go home and not want to play the game. They've got to come to the table. Republicans have a majority. The American people are speaking. Stop playing games with the American people. Get back to work and get the government open again. It's real simple. And they can do it if they'll just put their pride to the side and really serve. They went up there to serve the people. Do that. Serve the people who elected you, who sent you to Washington. It's just that simple. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. We've got another major showdown brewing in Minnesota this week, one that sits right at the intersection of sports, education, federal funding, and just common sense and fairness. The U.S. Department of Education has given Minnesota's education leaders a Friday deadline to comply with President Donald Trump's executive order, the one titled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports. It's real simple. The order says if a school allows biological males to compete in girls' sports, they'll risk losing federal funding. How much easier could that get? Now, with that deadline just days away, over 40 school board members from across the state are urging Minnesota leaders to comply, saying it's time to protect all students and preserve critical funding for their schools. In a letter sent this week to Education Commissioner Willie Jett, Attorney General Keith Ellison, and High School League Executive Director Eric Martins, these local officials made it clear they can't afford to lose federal dollars that support programs for nearly 900,000 students throughout the state of Minnesota. One board member, Lisa Atkinson from the Prior Lake Savage Area School, said, "We have to ask ourselves, how are we protecting all students in our district? Whether it's in the locker rooms or on the playing field, we can't risk losing funding. This is too important." Finally, some people are recognizing and admitting that you can't risk all of the students to try to protect a student who is a little confused, who's a little mixed up. Atkinson called the deadlines an opportunity, an opening for the state to finally craft policies that are fair and protect every student, not be concerned about a minority of the students. Friends, that's the heart of this debate: fairness, safety, and what's right for girls' sports. President Trump's executive order was issued back in February. It's part of that broader education and women's sports agenda, reinforcing Title IX's original intent. And it's very simple: to ensure equal opportunity for female athletes. The order states that any school allowing biological males to compete in female divisions will face federal funding freezes. It's a very clear message. If you want federal tax dollars, you've got to respect biological reality and play fair. Just that simple. But no, Minnesota's top Democrat leaders, Attorney General Keith Ellison, Governor Tim Walz, they have refused to comply. In fact, Ellison has gone a step further. He filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration, arguing the federal order violates the Constitution, state law, and Title IX itself. In a statement this week, AG Ellison defended his stance, saying letting the very small number of transgender students in Minnesota play on their school sports teams doesn't harm anyone. Excluding them does. This guy's nuts. It doesn't harm anyone? Of course it harms these young ladies who have worked their entire lives to be on a sports team. Listen to this one young lady who very eloquently talks about how hurtful this process is.
My goal from day one was make it to the state tournament, play in the state tournament, and win it. And we had the team to do so until we played Champlain Park. And you walk up to the field and you see a biological male in the circle and hitting, and your dreams are just crushed. Like, all hope and all sense of excitement is kind of downplayed because now no one cares about you. All they care about is this biological male that's coming in and taking away from what the state tournament was supposed to be. So before the season, we knew that this athlete was transgender, and the hope was that some team would be able to beat them. And then the season starts progressing and they're just winning and winning and winning every game. And you see these videos of this athlete just striking everyone out, hitting incredibly. So that was hard. And then we get to the state tournament and we actually upset the number 3 seed. So we weren't even supposed to make it to play them. And then we upset the 3 seed, ended up winning. And so then later we get to the game and it's kind of building up. No one's really talking about it because it's one of those things that it's like, what's someone else going to say if you talk about it? I was extremely upset. I was talking to my parents beforehand. I didn't want to play in the game originally. But in the back of my mind, it felt like I was letting myself, my team, and my family down because this was one of the last times that they would be able to see me play for my high school and in the state of Minnesota because I do go to college in Michigan now. It hurts in a lot more ways than you can ever understand. It hurts in almost feeling like there's no sense of hope in winning the game. And no matter what's going to happen, they will have the upper hand. And so it's incredibly heartbreaking.
Of course it's heartbreaking for these young ladies. But you got these idiots out there like Governor Walz and this Attorney General Ellison defending their stance. They're actually calling President Trump's order bullying and insisting that trans participation is protected under Minnesota's Human Rights Act. Well, what about the biological females? Where are their rights protected? I'll tell you, in Title IX. That was the whole purpose of it. Critics, including parents, athletes, and now dozens of school board members, say that argument ignores science and common sense. Thank you. They argue it's not about exclusion, that it's about fair competition and protecting girls from unfair advantages. Again, exactly what Title IX was set out to do. This past summer, you had 3 anonymous high school softball players who filed a lawsuit after facing off against a trans pitcher, Marissa Rothenberger, who led Champlain Park High School to a state championship. This is the guy that the young lady was referencing in just a minute in that clip that I played for you. This young man dominated the league, one of the best stat lines in Minnesota softball, and those girls say they felt helpless and unheard. One of them told Fox News it's not safe and it's completely unfair. Our Attorney General is allowing boys to compete with girls, and it's disgusting. Disgusting is exactly what it is. Former athletes are speaking out too. Kendall Kotzmacher, who played softball at White Bear Lake High School, says Governor Walz should know better as a former high school football coach himself. He's seen firsthand the physical differences between male and female athletes, she said. And she's right, but she's not quite understanding that they have a goofy governor. The state legislature actually tried to pass the Preserving Girls Sports Act earlier this year. That bill would have banned biological males from girls' teams outright. It failed by 1 vote. Just 1. And some of the opposition was downright extreme. Representative Leish Kozlowski, who identifies as non-binary, called the bill another version of state-sanctioned bullying and genocide. Wonder what she thinks about these young girls who feel like they're being bullied. Does she want to protect them? I mean, genocide for defending girls' sports? But that's how heated, how distorted the issue has become, not only in Minnesota, but all around the country. So here's what's at stake. If Minnesota refuses to comply by tomorrow, Friday, federal officials say the state could lose millions in education funding, money that supports classroom programs, extracurricular activities, and special education services. And that's why these school board members are stepping up finally, not to make a political statement, but to protect their students and schools from financial harm. And that's exactly what will probably happen. They're essentially saying to state leaders, stop the politics, follow the law, protect the funding, and follow Title IX. It's worked pretty well until now. Meanwhile, the courts will decide whether President Trump's executive order can stand on constitutional grounds. The administration has been pretty clear. Federal money comes with federal conditions, and one of those is ensuring fairness for female athletes. You've got to follow Title IX. This is about preserving opportunities that Title IX created 50 years ago, folks. Opportunities that are now being erased when girls are forced to compete against biological males. It should not be happening, and I just can't believe that we're still having this conversation. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.